Yo, what's up? It's Yeuda for BeatLab. We got a new episode of Should I Buy It? Today we're talking about the MOK or MOK Miniraze. Very special synth because it got a special oscillator, a wave slicing oscillator. Let's check it out. Okay, so first thing before we do anything, I gotta change the skin. Me personally, I can't see anything with this black and red, blue and red. So right here under the preferences, I find that the Berlin is a bit more manageable. Overall, like it or hate it, that's the interface of the synthesizer. The layout is very similar to a Minimoog. I'm assuming that's why it's called Miniraze. And they also have extra sound library you can get from the Bob Moog Foundation, give you a lot of extra sounds. The factory pack, the default presets, there's a lot of them. They're not categorized, you can't like them, there's no favorites, so that's one disadvantage. You just have to go through this huge list, but it comes with great list of sounds. Maybe we'll check just a few of them. Just randomly, I'm gonna choose some. It's a huge reverb. A lot of different types of sounds. Really great for pads, keys, and kind of electrified bass sounds, or lead sounds even. So a lot of different sounds. Let's say I go to the initialized preset. It's all the way here on the bottom, just so we can do an overview of what's going on in this synthesizer. First, we're going to ignore the left side, this modulation, LFO, and the key expression, the expression controls matrix. And let's just talk about the oscillators. So I'm going to turn off, right here in the mixer, I'm going to turn off oscillator 2 and 3. So we only listen to oscillator 1. Just a basic saw wave. And the special thing about this oscillator is that it features this wave slicing technology. Essentially, you have two waveforms right here. You can select from this huge list. Again, it's a big list. It's not really categorized besides these separator lines. I wish there was also a way to scroll between them with the mouse or with the arrow keys, but you just have to select from the list. So if I choose a sine wave right here, now we have a sine wave that is being sliced with a saw down wave. Now you have here the razor duty when you can decide which waveform you actually take in more, where you slice it. The thing about this, if you go to the right, it's actually giving you the left waveform. If you go to the left, it gives you the right waveform. Less intuitive for me, but still works. Nice, here you can also decide the size of how it's slicing it, all the way from kind of pulsing type of sounds to more somewhat of a kind of a phase modulation, almost FM type of sound. So razor size, what's the size of the slicing? And half is meaning that half oscillator, half waveform is the left and half waveform is the right. And that way you can create a lot of different tones that you not necessarily can create with other synthesizers. So I like that kind of special thing about it. Here we got just the tune for the entire oscillator. We got tune for each one of them, and they can go from full, like all the way from cent, semitones, octave, just octaves. You can tune the semitones and cents if you want to detune. And you can kind of combine them as well. Let's go back to full. You can also sync them, so they kind of force to the same pitch. Let's say, okay. And this type of oscillator is very unique. I like the display here, the oscilloscope that they gave us. It's not really oscilloscope, just a waveform display. And it's really great, really unique. And that I would say is the selling point of this synthesizer. The oscillator 2 and 3 are identical, but oscillator 3 is also the modulator for the filter FM. We'll get to that in a second. So that is the oscillator section. That is the unique point. Here we can just have on the top here, we have the tuning section, the voicing section. You can decide how many voices, poly or mono, and you can detune everything, the entire synth. But if you have multiple voices, they will be slightly detuned between one another, which is quite cool. The mixer section, we can turn on oscillator 2 and 3 as well. And you can also turn on the noise. The noise does come with a lot of different ones, like white, let's turn it up, white noise. But also a bunch of like black for more texture, kind of sounds like a record player. And all the other different colors. So that's a nice addition. The noise. Here we have the external in. You can actually bring in external audio from a different source in your DAW, in your software. And also you can sidechain as well. We also have this key tracking. Got to do a link to Oscillator 3, again for the frequency modulation of the filter. So you can turn it off. Main level of the synth. And here we have an analog. You can turn it on, and that creates a lot of small variations in the oscillators, in the filters, to give it more of an analog vibe. The ring modulation section here has a lot of different options, which is very cool. Let's turn on oscillator 1 again. So you can do a lot of different types of ring modulation here using all these type of calculations, which is a nice addition. I like that. You don't see this type of flexible ring modulator a lot in software synthesizers. On the top right here, we have the Arpeggiator. Besides, of course, the CPU meter and how many voices are currently playing, we have the Arpeggiator. You just turn it on and off. Let's play a chord here. And you can again select from this huge list all the different types of oscillators. It doesn't have its own rate knob. It's just the type and the speed. Forward, random, forward, reversed, all of those type of things. But it's not. It doesn't feel a full-on fledged arpeggiator, but it does the job. Okay, you can do external BPM, internal, and also external with resetting. So that's the arpeggiator, very simple. The filter section is what you expect, just a 4-pole or 2-pole, high pass, low pass, band pass, notch, and even blend, but they do have a few extra effects here that are masked as filters, which are very cool, really great effects, and I like the tone of them as well. So the filter is just a filter. Let's get here actually some detuning between the oscillator. We get a big fatter unison sound. Nice. Here's the resonance, and also it's called emphasis. So I'm assuming it's again inspired by the Moog, the Minimoog. FM, that comes from Oscillator 3. And we can change that here. Right, and I can also turn off key tracking if I don't want it to key track Oscillator 3, that FM. You can also key track the filter itself, the cutoff. But they have a few special filters here that are essentially effects. But wave folding, which is really great, and you have dual filters. They're in series. You can't really do parallel here or any other type of combination. But dual filter, which is great. Sweet. Underneath that, we have the envelopes. First of all, we have the amplifier envelope, attack, decay, sustain, release. Standard one. You have different shapes, curves for each stage, from logarithmic to exponential, and also linear. Attack, decay, sustain, release. Just a basic envelope. Nothing too fancy here. Let's bring up the release a tiny bit. And you have 3 other envelopes that you can route anywhere you want. So with the amp envelope, we also have the velocity sensitivity, so I can turn that off. And I have 4 destinations that I can map it to. So let's take the amp envelope, for example, and we'll route it right here to the filter. Again, we're dealing with huge menus. I don't like that. It's impressive at first because it gets you excited with all the options, but it just, there's gotta be a better way to choose all of this. Also the font, it's kind of hard to read. Maybe it's just me and my old eyes. But let's go filter 1, filter 2 cutoff. Filter 1 is right now the wave folder. And let's add some amount here. Let's give us some attack. Nice, you can also scale it with any type of expression control like mod wheel. So I'm gonna take my mod wheel and we can add the amount of the modulation using the mod wheel. We'll do that in a second with maybe a vibrato just to demonstrate that. Okay, nice, so you got 4 destinations for each envelope and we got 4 envelopes, the first one being the amp envelope. Right here at the end we have effects. Which are very nice, I gotta say. Let's bring in some reverb. And maybe test out the chorus. It's a stereo chorus. More depth. But you can combine them. There's only one effect at a time. That's fine. But just so you know, only one effect at a time. And the effects are solid. Great effects, simple, only up to 4 knobs and a button. So really great addition. Now if we go here to the left, we have the LFOs. We got 4 LFOs. And those are also quite versatile, as you can select any one of the waveforms. I think it's more than 100 waveforms that we have in the oscillators. You can select them as shapes for the LFOs. Let's go here to the LFO matrix, up to 8 destinations for each LFO. And again, let's choose, for example, just to keep it simple, we'll go with the filter cutoff. And let's bring up the amount. Here you have, of course, the speed of the LFO, the rate. You can synchronize it to tempo. You can reset it in various ways, like just reset every time you hit a note, free reset, reset only on legato, only on overlapping, not overlapping notes when they're not overlap, and just random phase of the LFO. You can also make it bipolar, unipolar, and rectified, where it's kind of pushing it to the positive values. You have the duty cycle here, more on the top, more on the bottom. Okay, the phase of it, and you can even quantize, which will make it it's kind of like a bit reduction on the actual LFO, so it becomes more kind of step. Nice, and again we have this scaler, which is great just to have it affected the amount by an expression control. So let's go, actually we'll do oscillator all tune, we'll make like a simple vibrato effect. Let's speed it up. Let's get it on the time. And then we'll use our mod wheel, bring it up. And let me reset the envelope so we got a bit more of a lead kind of sound here. We'll change it from delay to chorus. And as you can see here on the bottom left, when I bring up my mod wheel, it gives us that vibrato, that LFO on the oscillators all tune. Nice. Lastly, we have this matrix. It's called matrix. It's essentially the expression controls. You can take all these different values or expression controls like mod wheel, pitch wheel, aftertouch, all of those things, key tracking, velocity, and map it to all the destinations that you can see here. And pretty solid, pretty straightforward. Okay, that's the entire interface. Here on the bottom we have glide. We can turn it on or off. That is polyphonic glide, and it's always on. So you don't need to do legato. You don't need to overlap notes in order to glide. It just glides. For example, even the entire chord. The pitch bend range right here up to 2 octaves. You can do that. Nice. So that is essentially the entire synthesizer. So a couple of words on that if you're thinking about getting this. I think it goes for about $129 on their store. And you can also get this extra preset pack from the Bob Moog Foundation. It does come with a lot of sounds. My only thing about this synth, I would say the only cons, is the menus. The interface is very hard to look at. The menus are just super long with not the best font for my eyes. But the sounds that it come with, it's great. And the positive things I would say about this, besides the simple layout and interface and sound architecture that is similar to the Minimoog, is that the oscillators are very unique. And that is usually what we see as a new form of synthesis, whether it's additive, subtractive, wavetable, spectral, all of those. A lot of times, or in most cases, the oscillator is what's different, and after that we usually see a regular subtractive architecture of the synthesizer. So the oscillators here are using their wave slicing, which can create a lot of cool tones that you not necessarily can create in other synthesizers. So that's super cool. Other than that, pretty straightforward. I would say that it can improve on some aspects like the arpeggiators, the menu, and just the overall interface, just the colors, the flat design. Something about it doesn't invite so much to explore and look at, but still I spend some time with it and you get used to it. But I had to change the skin, as let's go back to the original skin. As this one, something about it, it is cool and futuristic, kind of punk, what you call it, cyberpunk kind of, but something about it, it's not as appealing as I would like it to be. Nonetheless, awesome synth, very straightforward, and check it out from MOK or MOK, not sure how you say that, but Miniraze. Catch you next time.